Latin American debt crisis. Were IMF policies controversial? Imagine a region struggling to pay off debts that kept piling up, causing economic chaos and social upheaval. That's what happened during the Latin American debt crisis of the 1980s. Countries like Mexico, Brazil, and Argentina borrowed heavily in the 1970s when money was cheap. But by the early 1980s, they could no longer make their debt payments. The crisis threatened to topple entire economies and destabilize governments. The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, stepped in to help. They provided loans to keep countries afloat but had strict conditions. These conditions often included cutting government spending, reducing subsidies, and opening markets to international trade. The goal was to improve fiscal health and help countries earn enough from exports to pay their debts. However, these policies were not popular. Many nations had to cut back on social programs, which meant less money for health, education, and infrastructure. Unemployment soared, and economic growth slowed or even turned negative. This period, known as the Lost Decade, left many Latin American countries with long-lasting scars. Critics argue that IMF policies focused too much on repaying debts rather than fixing underlying economic problems. The austerity measures hit the poor hardest, widening inequality and sparking social unrest. Some believe the IMF prioritized the interests of international banks and creditors over the needs of local populations. On the other hand, supporters say these policies prevented complete economic collapse. They argue that fiscal discipline was necessary to restore stability and rebuild confidence in the financial system. Still, the social costs were high, and many countries struggled for years to recover. This episode shows how international financial aid can be a double-edged sword. While it can provide short-term relief, strict austerity can cause long-term hardship if not balanced with social support. The Latin American debt crisis remains a key example of the challenges faced when managing major economic disruptions and the debates over the best way to handle economic crises. In the end, the controversy over IMF policies during this time highlights the difficult choices countries face during financial emergencies. It's a reminder that economic stability must go hand in hand with social well-being to truly recover from such crises.